What's up, everybody? Thanks for watching Car Inside. It's a new week here on iRacing, and the current NASCAR season has ended, so that means it's time for iRacing to go to all of these different random places, random tracks, and it's not going to follow the current schedule. B-Fixed heads to Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois, and the C-Fix Trucks heads to the virtual iRacing Super Speedway. Had a couple suggestions from some people. One in particular was Racing with Rob, who suggested that I do a breakdown for the B-Fixed. So here on Car Inside, I like to listen to my followers. You guys are the reason that I am where I am today, so I like to give back in return. And if you guys suggest something, then if it's something I can do, then I want more than anything to be able to do that for you guys and help you out. So here is a B-Fixed video for a qualifying breakdown. Up front disclaimer, I will say I do not have a lot of seat time in the B car or the A car, but I will give it my best effort here to run a hot lap in the B-Fixed, and this is what I got. Hot lap's coming on lap number 2. I am in fact using the generic settings on that iRacing gives you: 12 to 1, 10 plus 10 degrees steering ratio, and a 65% brake bias. This is our hot lap. We are wheeling it, having to turn right quite a bit throughout the corners. Hot lap on lap number 2, as I was saying. This is going to be fun to drive. This is probably one of my favorite combinations on the game, so hopefully I will be able to run a couple of these races this week. But the hot lap is a 31.130. So as you've seen, we came out of the pits and we just immediately went to the top, started running the top. Coming to our hot lap, on the first lap I was lifting around the green cone, just kind of letting the car roll in, half throttle, and just getting to it as soon as we can. Now you can really watch the wheel here. We're kind of turning right. I didn't dip below the white line on the entry to our hot lap. I stayed up top, didn't want to make the car unbalanced going into turn number 1. We're going to ride outwards toward the wall, and our entry point is going to be about a car length before we get to this safer barrier here. We're going to turn in. Now, one thing that I noticed that I was able to do is stay in the throttle. We don't want to lift. Now, during the race, we may be lifting earlier, but for the hot lap, do not lift when you start turning in. We're going to turn in, and when you get to this seam that is one lane above the bottom, that's going to be where we lift, and it's just going to be an on-off switch. Completely lift out of the throttle. Work our way to the white line. When we get to the white line, that's going to be the point where we start picking up the throttle. Don't get all the way in the throttle. The car will get very uneasy. You want to just slowly pick up the throttle, start squeezing it, and feel it out. Whenever you're able to get back to the throttle, then we're going to punch it. Here, for the lap, honestly, I didn't use any reference points, but if you kind of look at it, kind of where these black marks on this white line ends and where the Monster Energy sign is kind of an area to keep in mind, to where you can full throttle and open up. You're really going to work the wheel. We're turning right once, twice, really wanting to step out here, but you're going to work your way off the bottom and outwards toward the wall. Use every inch of that racetrack. Kind of cut the back stretch, you know, it's one big curve, but we kind of cut it shallow. Stayed about a lane off the wall. Don't want any unnecessary aero drag coming off the wall against the windshield of the car. Going to start turning in about a car length before we get to this green caution sign here, and much like turn number 1, you don't have to immediately lift. You can kind of stay in the throttle here, and for the same concept as we had over on the other side of the racetrack, when we get to this first seam, that's going to be the point where we lift, and then picking the throttle up as we get to that white line. I was a little more aggressive with the throttle here into turn number 3. Get in it, and the car's really going to want to step out there. Twice, once, twice, again, just like turn number 2. The car's really wanting to step out, stayed in it, worked that wheel, and then turned down to the bottom to the yellow line, and that is a 31.130. And as I was saying here, we use the generic 12 to 1 steering ratio, plus 10 offset, 65% brake bias. That's what the iRacing gives you when you load into Chicagoland. I didn't change any of that. I feel like this is a pretty good lap. I was right on the edge, really pushing the car for everything that it had. Again, I don't have a lot of seat time, so I may not be the best reference when it comes to running these cars, but that is what I'm getting. Hopefully that's something that is helpful and relatable for you guys that you can compare to and go off of to learn how to set a hot lap here. But it's just going to be about staying in the throttle as much as you possibly can, driving it in deep, getting back to the throttle as quick as you can, using every inch of that racetrack. For the race, I would most likely be willing to bet that I'll be using a 16-to-1 steering ratio, as I always do at most of these mile and a halves. I would say that steering offset will probably stay the same, whatever it is that helps my wheel get back to center, as I always say. And then brake bias, probably run 65. I may bump it down to 62. That way I can start off at 65 and then work it down. I would imagine it probably using a little bit of brake here at Chicagoland as the run goes on. I can't say entirely. Again, I will say, disclaimer, don't have a lot of seat time in these. So this is just suggestions that you can take very lightly. I wouldn't take it as the full-blown gospel for what I'm saying here. I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up, but I don't have, again, don't have a lot of laps here in these cars. So that's what I'm doing here. Hopefully this is helpful. If you guys would, please hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Greatly appreciate all the support that you guys give here on Car Inside. Thanks for watching. Head on over to the other video that I have for the Steve Fix at iRacing Super Speedway and check out that breakdown. Thank you guys for all the continued support, and we'll see you guys out on the track.